Hello and happy February 2023 to our listening audience. And in our studio today, we have our volunteers, many of our volunteers, so I welcome you as well. I'm Cecilia Rakusek, the President and CEO, and this is our monthly Kolache and Coffee with the President, or Kolache and Kava with the President. And before we get started and I introduce our special guest today, I would like to just highlight this is February, and February is Heart Month. So I encourage all of you to wear your red and to think about your diet and to think about what you eat and your exercise, and so you stay young for a long, long, long time. And secondly, it's Valentine's Day coming up soon. And today our store sent out a great email blast about all the wonderful gifts. And this beautiful pin that I have on is from our museum store that I bought. So just an extra plug for our museum store. We've got Andrea Siebenman has done a great job of preparing for Valentine's Day. There's chocolates, there's fabulous jewelry, there's puzzles, there's something for everyone. So be sure you check out our website for our Valentine's Day specials. And today it's my honor and pleasure for our February edition to welcome Dr. Dalibor Mikuláš.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Mikuláš is from Dolní Kubín in the Slovak Republic, but he comes to us from Palacký University in Olomouc, which is in the Czech Republic. And Dr. Mikuláš is currently here as a presidential fellow. And I wanted him to take over today, the show, to tell us a little bit about himself first. So tell us about yourself, Dr. Mikuláš.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm really delighted to be here in the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids. This is not the first time for me. You know, I visited this museum several times, and obviously I have been in touch with Czech and Slovak issues, studies not just in the States, but also in Canada for some time. So it's always really very, very, not just very pleasant, but also very useful time. I have been doing my best to merge all of the contacts and everything together so that we could have that European-American collaboration ongoing, developing, because I see quite a lot of potential. I have seen that in the recent 30 plus year long period I have been staying at Czech and Slovak and American universities. So who I am a scholar. I am a person who has been very for university oriented person. I'm a Slovak, so obviously I studied in Slovakia. I defended my PhD in linguistics at Comenius University Bratislava. The other doctorate that I have in history, I defended at the University of Prešov. I spent some time at the University of Notre Dame, Indiana, which is a great place. It's really one of the great American universities. Then I spent some of my scholarly activities at the University of Ottawa. And I might continue more with all of these accomplishments of mine, but the most important thing is that now I'm here at the museum and library, and I have been somehow trying to put together the university in various educational segments together with Czech and Slovak universities and American universities. So for me, it's always Czech, Slovak, and American. This is something that has been very ongoing for me. And the last thing that I have almost forgotten to mention is that, yes, I'm coming from Palacký University Olomouc, which is one of the top Czech universities. And it's a large university, roughly 25,000 students, more than 4,000 employees, and a great internationalization segment, where I currently hold the position of being a director of internationalization division of this big university situated in a fantastic city of Olomouc, which is just a a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city, very nicely preserved. Um, a city that in Europe we call it university city. In the States you would call it a college town. So this is a university where 1/5 of the population is represented by university students. So this is very briefly about myself, about my academic background, and I'm more than ready to answer your several questions.
Okay,
That
well,
you're going
you
to
said a
pose.
couple of things that I think people might be very interested in knowing, and that's number one about Polutsky and Polutsky University. Polutsky was a great theologian, scholar, and started this university. And interestingly, and you know a little bit about it, in early 2000s, Mount Mercy University, the museum, and Polutsky had a relationship. And tell us about now what you've resurrected.
Well, as I mentioned, Palatsky University in Olomouc is so strong in the field of internationalization. What does that mean? Well, it means that this university has been developing in a very prioritized way its international relations, international programs, international undertakings. So, for example, in reality, it means that this university, for instance, has a program which is called Charles Merrill Program. And this university has been sending its students to the States, to the United States of America, to American universities for more than 30 years. And this is a great accomplishment because, for instance, last time I took a picture of you, Cecilia, with a student, Palatsky University student, and I posted a short text on LinkedIn, which is nowadays many times, you know, young people, they love it, being on social media. And I received immediately more than 500 people saw that picture. But that's a young student studying physics at Palatsky, and at the same time now being here like an exchange student at Kolache Cedar Rapids. So this is that reality. So we're not just boasting, but we're really very much concerned with individual students, and I think that these individual stories just prove that Palatsky University is a special Czechoslovak or Czech university. In addition to this Merrill program, because Merrill program is about sending Czech and Slovak students to the United States, to American universities. But at the same time, Palatsky University has another program which is called Nebraska Study Abroad Program. So for almost 30 years, Palatsky University has been bringing American students from the University of Nebraska to the Czech Republic, to Olomouc, providing them with a study, trimester study. So always, every year, a cohort of 20 to 25 students come to the Czech Republic, and they study there, they become familiar with the history, with the programs, and also they travel a lot. So they study, they spend some time in the Czech Republic, in Olomouc, in Brno, in Prague, right? Once you are in the Czech Republic, you must be in Prague. But in addition, on the top of that, they travel, they spend some time in the museums in Poland, commemorating Holocaust. They study and spend some time in Italy, in Slovakia, in Germany, in Austria. So this is what we have been up to, and this is how we, you know, carry out that concept of internationalization, because for us, internationalization means that you provide to young, promising generations that international element. And that international element makes you be a better citizen, a person with greater empathy, a person with higher education, larger wisdom, and a person who is tolerant, nice and enriching for the community. Whether he is out there in those international environments, or him, her being back in the Czech lands, in Olomouc, in Slovakia, in Central Europe, bringing those new things. So I expect that this Maruška, that's the name of the girl now studying here at Kolache, I know that once she comes back to Palacky, to Olomouc, she will be a great ambassador of Kolache, of Cedar Rapids, National Czech and Slovak Museum, because she's also a volunteer here. This is the plan, right? And she will be a great ambassador of these American goodies in the Czech lands in Central Europe, as it is now a nice ambassador of Palacky University here at Kolache, in Cedar Rapids, at the National Czech and Slovak Museum, and so on and so forth.
Well, I think you've hit on a key point, Dr. Kolache, and that is the importance of educating our students. That's the next generation. We are all, I don't ever like to say aging, but we're all getting to be more mature. And so it's so important that we have these future generations. And I remember giving a speech in Slovakia 20 years ago and saying that if we don't educate our students to understand each other across the Atlantic, we won't have a future. And so I think it's so important that we educate students on both sides of the Atlantic. But you're being modest. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I want you to talk about Palacky University got a big award for internationalization. Yeah. And we've already, I've been here now 4 years, and in 2019, right before the COVID, we had 2 students here, Marek Vashut, who was in the library here for 3 months, and then we had Andrea Mikulash, who was also at College, another student, and then last semester we had Jakub Ketman, another PhD student. So we at the museum are trying to enrich that and get more students. And Palacky has certainly been a leader and a good partner for us. The president of Palacky serves on our museum board and that library board. And tell us about the award that Palacky got for its recognition of internationalization.
Yes, it's a EAIE award for the excellence in internationalization. In fact, it means that it's a European award for excellence in the field of internationalization. In 2019, we were successful enough. We prepared, I chaired that commission, we prepared a proposal that with which we applied to the European body, and we were somehow successful. We convinced them that what we have been doing at Palacky University in Olomouc has been really serious. It's nicely accountable. It's a reality. It's not just about talking about something which is really great, but it's really about implementation of those noble ideas. And obviously to us, it means that this step by step, bit by bit, day by day, week by week, year by year, that this is really something that pays off. And also I have to say, speaking, because I'm a Slovak, I'm not Czech. I was born like a Czechoslovak citizen of Slovak nationality, and now I find myself being a Slovak citizen working at Palacky University Olomouc, which is a Moravian university in the Czech Republic, while all of these segments belonging to the fact that we are now representing the European Union. So it's really funny, but it's mutually interrelated and so promising. There was one thing that I wanted to mention, that many times we somehow forget that the United States and the European Union, these are those 2 large bodies representing Western Hemisphere. All the values, everything that's, I really think that these activities and bringing these 2 large bodies, 2 large organizations, bringing them together, that this is really something that makes sense. And obviously I don't expect anything like awards for our daily bread, for our daily activities, but I think that this is right. And I think that in this mutual collaboration, we have so many things to offer, not just to the Western Hemisphere, but to the whole planet which is being called Earth.
Recently, someone said to me, you're a regional museum, you're a state museum, you're a national, and you're an international. And there are only 3 national Czech and Slovak museums, one in Prague, one in Bratislava, and one in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Don't you just love that? That's so great. And Dalibor, this is a great segue into the next question I have for you. Being born in Slovakia, teaching now in a Moravian university, and the Moravians, by the way, were really great scholars. I think of Komenia, Spalatsky, really some great scholars came from Moravia, but you're within the Czech Republic. And so let's have a little fun now and talk about what's coming up in our cultures. I always say, and I think everybody should say that, when somebody says to me, what's your nationality? I always say, I'm an American citizen with Czech and Slovak roots. And I think if we all got used to saying that, we would have a sense of identity and a sense of pride of who we are. So it's okay to say I'm Czech, but it's really, I'm an American citizen with Czech and Slovak roots. So we're coming into a season now. We passed Christmas and New Year's, the 3 Kings. Now we're going into the Lenten season, and here in the United States we call it Carnival or Mardi Gras. But in our countries, in the Czech and Slovak republics, and we have a great exhibit here now at the museum called Musselpust, which is the Czech name for what we're kind of talking about now. But tell us a little bit about now what's different between the Czech and Slovak republics. What is Musselpust? What is Fashangi? And tell us about that. I know you experience it in some customs.
Sure. In fact, we're talking about one and the same thing. And thank you for that introduction. Yes, we're now in that season which starts on that Epiphany Day on the 6th of January, and it goes down until the Ash Wednesday. And this is a period which is remarkable. Period. It's so much connected not just with Christianity, but it's very much connected with the hundreds and hundreds of years that preceded us. What's fantastic on Czech and Slovak cultures is that our cultures preserve traditions and that we still do the things. And so now getting back to the title, to the name. So you said Masopust and Fasciangi, Masopust in the Czech lands and Fasciangi in Slovakia. But I don't want to be boring to you, but I studied history, so sorry for the coming minutes. Everything, talking about Masopust, this is that original word. In the 9th century, our history was connected. So there was for anybody whose ancestry goes together with Moravia, I have to say that in the 9th century, Moravia was not just a small thing. It was a Moravian empire. It was a huge Central European empire, Central and Southern European empire. And the language there, and it was not just the language, but also the culture, religion, the language there was using one word, and that was miasopust, which meant goodbye to meat. And this word miasopust was nicely preserved. I'm not surprised, but it's nice. It was nicely preserved in the present-day Czech Republic, while in Slovakia it was somehow substituted by a German term. So fasciangi is a word that comes from the German language because the present Slovakian or Slovak territory was so much connected with various waves of German colonizations. And since Germans were always good at craftsmanship, at crafts and merchandise and trades, they were strong enough, to have that impact on the Slovak language. So once again, we're talking about two different words, but being connected with one and the same concept. Again, if we speak about cultures, or culture as such, and if we speak about the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, we have to be very cautious because every village, every small town represents its own specificities, its own unique and unique characteristics. So when I lived in the Lipto region, which is so, I think it's a rich region, not just in its culture, but also in its immigration stories. Then I have to say that I experienced this fasciangi. So the villages, usually in that period, either in January or February, they go, they visit those particular houses there in the village. Obviously, they have their masks on. Fasciangi is always about giving goodbye to the heavy winter and getting ready for that spring coming. So obviously, it's something. So both Fasciangi and Masopus. This is the period when magic was happening. You know, one of the symbols, one of the masks must represent over there the death. You know, dying wintertime, and the other ones usually animals like horses. Funny, right? Goats, but also bears. They do represent that energy, you know, that promise for something new to come, something new to be born. And spring is definitely, you know, one of the ways how you can express those new things coming. Again, just to assure you that yes, this is still normally, naturally happening, not in the cities, certainly not in the cities, but mainly in those rural areas, in those villages. But what's so typical for these 2 months is balls. And ladies, you would love it because, you know, when it comes to this ball season, it's always about not just one new dress, but at least 2. It's not just one ball, but at least 2 or 3. The males are not supposed to somehow meme or to, you know, come up with something, why should I don't want, no. That's really the ball season. Throughout the year, we're getting ready for the fact that in January and in February, we will be dancing, we will be drinking, we will be having fun, and we will, it won't, if we go for a ball, it doesn't mean that you are there at 6 o'clock and at midnight it's over. Not in Czech and Slovak lands. It's a very dangerous thing. So it means that you are supposed to dance until very early morning. So normally these things are done at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, not more. 5 o'clock, usually 5. When you are doing good, I think that you need to be there at least until 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. Then, you know, it really depends. But this is a decent strategy. So it's also, you can see that connection, that there's the history that we need to remember, but that history is we are part of that history. It's still here. So what I love on both of these 2 months, January and February, is the balls, fun that you are having, the fact that you are dancing with your wife, that wife dances with her husband, youngsters, you know, together, and you are together with friends. So it's there. We would be able to, but I'm not into ethnography. I'm not into anthropology. I'm not into ethnology. Otherwise, you know, I should be more skillful in those explanations. So it's a great period, and it's very much interesting that to find out that Masopus is really that original Slavic word for the season, for these cultural days that we have been having fun with.
That was a super overview of it, because I remember growing up in this little town in South Dakota that we would always have a dance. We didn't have the plus, but the Monday and Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, it was like a plus, but we didn't call. And we'd always get new dresses, and we would stay up on Monday night till 2 or 3 o'clock. But then on Tuesday, by midnight, we were in bed. And on Monday and Tuesday, we would eat so many goblehy. You call them shishki, I think, in Slovakia. We call them goblehy, filled donuts. And we would eat so many. But as soon as it hit Monday on Tuesday, no more goblehy. And we were on fasting and no meat on Fridays, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a really, and I'm really happy to see that in many of our Czech and Slovak cities around the U.S., they're starting places. Chicago has one, Sarasota, Florida has one. They have one in New Jersey now, and they have one in New York. So we're seeing these places kind of resurrect now, and people really, the one in Chicago that we were at was recently, and everybody has a new dress. My goodness, you can't wear the same dress you wore the year before. It always has to be new.
And what was also very promising, I think it was last Saturday. So what was really so promising was to see so many young people at this particular Czech and Slovak ball, Československý ples, which was organized not by Czechs and Slovaks, but by
the United Moravian Society.
Exactly. So that was a very nice thing. And also, just to conclude that story connected with Masopust or Fasciangi, the most, now talking about those hundreds of years getting back or going back to the deep history, the most intensive days were the last 3 days before before Ash Wednesday, and that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And again, it was also the time when the people were eating quite a lot of meat, because it was necessary to prepare themselves for that fasting period, which is so much connected with the period of Christianity, with Jesus Christ, and with that 40-day long fasting season, if I may put it this way.
Very good. And this is a really good segue into our exhibit that Stephanie and Tricia have put together, and that's on masks and magic, which is really our Masopust exhibit here in the museum. And it's fascinating. You see the Fasciangi costumes, you see the what people wore for Masopust, but then you relate it to the American story. And I was so fascinated to know that the first beads used in the South, in Georgia and in New Orleans, were Czech beads. And then they switched over from the beautiful glass Czech beads to the inexpensive ones that they import from other countries. So the Czech beads and the gowns were all these heavy, beautiful Czech beaded gowns. So that's another connection, that the Czechs had an impact here in the United States on our, what we call Mardi Gras, or in the South Carnival. So there's that strong connection that's very, very important. So we have a lot to celebrate. So Dalibor, tell us a little bit about, before, as we sort of wind down here, tell us a little bit about, you told us your background, your history. We've known each other for a long time. Grew up, I met you how many years ago? Many years ago. You were 10 and I was 15, right?
Yeah.
But in that time, I've seen such great things happen to both countries. And now we're celebrating a very, very important time, the 30-year anniversary of the independence of both the Czech Republic and Slovakia following communism. Can you shed some light and maybe tell us some things that you have planned? Because as our scholar, you're doing a lot of things. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Obviously, if I believe it was yesterday. Yes, I think it was. Yes, it was yesterday. We had a very nice Zoom online lecture provided by Pavel Demeš, who is a former Minister for Foreign Affairs, for International Relations, down there in Slovakia. We had also nice audience. The Czech Council from Chicago, Slovak ambassador from Washington, D.C. But again, that major topic is really about not just commemorating the fact that now it's 30 years from the split of Czechoslovakia. The Czechoslovakia somehow made a decision to allow the birth of two independent republics. But it's also very interesting kind of a momentum where we can see which particular stories are in good shape in the Czech Republic and in the Slovak Republic, and where are those deficits, democratic deficits, which are understandable in many respects, even if you are young, if a state, if a republic is young. So there is certain expectation that not everything is going to start in a perfect way. So this is something that we have been planning. This is something that we have been doing. We carried out that first lecture by Dr. Demesh, and we're going to have another one in March, which will focus also, it will also focus on how Czechs and Slovaks and Americans help in international scene. Don't forget that that field of mine that I really find myself in an easy way is internationalization. So next month we'll be speaking with Pavel Demesh about what we do and how we help Ukraine, which is a huge topic. It's not just about Ukraine. It has tremendous consequences on the global economy. It has tremendous consequences on questions connected with not just with democracy, but also with energies, with everyday life in continental Europe. So this is something that we are going to speak about, and obviously, Cecilia, you know that you have just brought one interesting lecture to the country club here in Cedar Rapids. You invited a young lady from Odessa, from Ukraine, and she, I think, since I was there, she was really an inspiring example of what it means to be courageous, what it means to suffer, because if you want to have something, many times this is how it goes with our lives, that we have to suffer for those good things to come. So we are going to build this story. We're going to continue in these discussions. So far, we know that the General Counsel, the Czech Consul General, is coming from Chicago because he's finishing his mission. Usually it's 4 years. So Yaroslav is coming here, and he's going to speak about his experience and about how he was connected and how he's going to be connected with Czech and Slovak Museum here in the Cedar Rapids. And also he's going to tell us some news updates about the Czech Republic, about the new president. And also I believe that he will be speaking about the Czech and Slovak presidents, because we spoke about them yesterday with Pavel Demesh, so that we could again bring more light into our daily lives, because it's not an easy thing, to be constantly bombarded by all of those political turmoils and manipulations provided by politicians. But there must be somebody out there bringing those values, virtues, and also bringing those old stories to the daily light. And here how I see museums and universities. All of these unique stories are worthy, and we need to take care of them so that those bad stories are not repeated, and so that we could build something better that was over here several years ago. So.
Well, and thank you for mentioning the interview with Daria, our Ukrainian guest. It's on Facebook, so anyone who wants to listen who hasn't seen it yet, it's a very, very good video. It's about a 25-minute video with Daria Bodova. She's the Assistant Honorary Slovak Consul for Odessa, Ukraine, a member of the museum here. And so we invite you to watch it on our Facebook Live. With that, and before I give some parting words to Dr. Mikolache, are there any questions from our listening audience? Questions? Logan, any questions? None? No one has any questions?
Well, I think it was very interesting in his, I'm going to say performance, but no, in the presentation, because you covered everything really nice with the details. So I think we could fully understand, what you were talking about.
Great.
Another thing in Sokol, we used to have our Shibjinki dances just before Lent would start. And we did it in costumes, and it was part of it. And we had the music, and the Czech Plus band played, and we did that. And then, of course, everything has been shut down for a lot of things being carried on because of COVID and everything. So.
Well, thank you for that comment from our Czech Heritage Preservation Society here about how comprehensive you were. Thank you, Dr. Kolache. And I'd like to give you the last word. So what can we help people here in the United States to really recognize and preserve that cultural imprint here for future generations? That's a tough question, but what can we do? Just one small thing.
Well, I think it's tough and easy at the same time. You know, probably it's going to be an indirect answer, but I'm an expert in how the things are done. So I'm going to tell you to answer your question from a bit different perspective. So what we are planning to do in the coming months, we're going to bring here Czech and Slovak ambassadors to Cedar Rapids, to this museum. Together with you, I'm going to help to bring here the Czech teachers from the States and from Canada who have been teaching Czech language and Slovak language here, and I think that we are going to get up to 100 people here to the Czech and Slovak Museum. We're going to bring here, together with our friends in general consulates and embassies, we're going to bring business people here. And all of these things are going to happen in the coming months. So we are talking about the agenda which is already here. We have a series of lectures. We have these visits by diplomats. We have these planned visits of teachers, intellectuals, scholars. We're going to bring some businessmen. And who knows, maybe we're going to bring something special, some special attraction to this city, which will be an attraction not just for the city of Cedar Rapids and not just for the museum, but also for the state of Iowa.
Very good.
We'll see.
Very good. Well, plus check our website for all the singers we've got coming and the programs in March and April, and then certainly a lot's coming on this summer. So the Czech teachers will be meeting here the first weekend in June. So we look, and the ambassadors will both be here, so we look forward to that. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Kolache.
My pleasure.
And we're proud to have you as part of our museum here. And we thank all of our volunteers for coming today, and we'll see you next month on Coffee and Kolache, Kava Kolache. So see you then. Bye-bye.
See you.